Hi, everybody out there in Cyberland. It's Victor Hamsa. I thought I'd do a live show. Came to realize it's pretty advanced, so I don't think that people really understand anything I'm saying. So I thought I'd come on here, do a live show, see if anybody wants to comment, and I could go off that. And other than that, if this is not popular at all format, I'll just delete it and go on and do something else. But I have been doing some neat meditation and just had a good session. So I'm still wearing my meditation beads. So just thought I'd say hi and see if anybody wants to come on and chat about something. And if you do, I'll comment about it. I could comment on the world and what's going on in the meantime. Um, Hi, Melinda. So we had, in the world, we had, let's see, products into ourselves. My Wi-Fi isn't that good, I guess, so I might cut in and out. Sorry about that. But in the world, Donald Trump said that we're not doing that great, so maybe we should put cleaning products in ourselves. Or he actually commented, I saw it, that maybe he would put light. He suggested putting light into like people would be ingesting light. I recommend that through meditation, envisioning that. But he's a he's a little bit. Hey, Suzanne. He's a little bit wacky. It's just shown. So people are saying they should really enact the 25th Amendment, and some people are saying that to get rid of Trump, which is it's crazy. Like he's been doing, some crazy things. I don't like to talk about third dimensional things, too much, like presidencies and whatnot. Um, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks just went and they are turning back on CERN. So that was concerning that Tom Hanks is involved in that, which is very strange. Being that he's been involved in so many Mandela effects, now he's involved with turning back CERN on after its hiatus. So we're on lockdown, but CERN is fully turned on, I guess, and starting to be enabled. So that's pretty weird. A lot of things going on, in the news I could talk about. Just want to see if anybody wants to chime in. If I don't get a lot of comments, then I could always turn this off. A lot of other things, been going on in the news. We could talk about. I asked my hubs about that UV light, but he says dangerous unless under a control. This is Suzanne. Unless in controlled situation due to UV levels, etc. I thought it was simple on and off lamp. So thanks for mentioning that, Suzanne. There's different types of UV light. So this would be under UVC is the exact type of light that would help to get rid of the coronavirus. I had envisioned an idea making up a video about how the coronavirus is definitely from the darkness, because light in actuality makes it die. So that's pretty straightforward right there in your face. Like, hey, this is definitely something for evil, because darkness, it thrives in darkness. But when UV light, UV, I believe it's C, is shined on it, it gets rid of it. There's something else versus the C. Um, I I saw a. This is a copper water bottle. Um, I thought about these and I saw that copper. Before all this, I knew copper was really good to have your water in it, and I bought a special water purifier, like $40, $50. It's a jug. You pour water in the top, and it drips through. And if anybody's interested, I'll tell you which one. I think they're sold out right now with what's going on. Everybody's concerned about water as well. But it drips through, and it's purified water. And I've been putting it in my copper um, container, which is really good. So copper, they used to have before they ripped it out. A lot of people don't know in the the trains where what I want to say Grand Central Station. That's a there's a Mandela effect there as well. But in Grand Central, because the name changed, Grand Central Terminal now versus station, so it's Grand Central Station. But anyway, they had time for a drink. They had the rails and everything was made in copper. So everywhere where you touched was made in copper. And what they did was they ended up ripping it out and putting stainless steel. So copper, and Trump actually talked about it in the last, as I saw, he talked about it. He said copper, the C virus gets on copper and it's gone in 4 hours or less. And when it's on stainless steel, it could last like 24 hours. So, yes, it's very interesting that we used to have copper piping, and copper, yes, is known to ward off evil. The reason people put copper, they said to put copper bracelet on, is that the circadian rhythm of your body, it was people said over, and it's true, every 24 hours it cycles through your body, your yin and yang. And then when the copper was there, it helps on your wrist. That's why golfers would wear it, to recycle that chi energy, and it gets rid of arthritis. Now, if you talk to 10 doctors, I would say probably 5 will disagree and 5 will agree about copper and its benefits. There's actually, you're supposed to have copper actually in your, copper pennies. Then World War II, no copper pennies. Right. So there's been an agenda of, there's been an agenda of, for instance, when they changed the frequency of music versus 440, they have it, they changed the frequency of the music. Now it's disharmonious. When it was more in harmony, that was more, healing. But to get back in copper about the story, which is pretty neat, these are like $88. This copper is kind of expensive. I don't know what this one is. It's wrapped in leather, but I got 2 of them. And anyway, so I wanted one, and I prayed on it. So I said, God, can I get a copper vessel to put water in? I think it's going to be beneficial to me. I guess that was about a year ago. And I prayed on it, and I forgot. And I went to an outside, small outside fair where they sell extra. It's brand new, but they have extras. Like, let's say they have 10,000. They order 10,000 for a company, and they have some extras, and they sell it. So I went over there, and I basically got this for $1. So I got 2 of them, and so I prayed on it, and I said, gee, I don't have the money, God, but I really want one. Can you help me out? I think it'd be helpful and beneficial to me to have a cleaner body, so I can help people. I do distance healing and things like that. And I really got concerned, and I thought it'd be helpful. And then it was like a couple weeks later, got these copper bottles for $1 each, and they're $88. They were marked with an $88 price tag, and I said to the lady, "Well, it's marked $88." She goes, "Well, it's on sale. Here, you just take it, make it $1." I'm like, "Oh, you sure?" She's like, "Yeah." So I got two of them for $1. So it was a pretty good deal, and I'm just saying that God wants us to be healthy, and I think it's always important that if you pray on it, if you're worried about something and you need it and you don't have the money, you'll get it. So certainly it's important to pray on it. But yeah, lower vibrational frequencies, like with music. Music is certainly, if you're listening, they used to have this in ancient Rome. They had a cave, and what they uncovered with the water table lowering, they found this cave that they would actually put people in, and they found out that it makes a certain hertz frequency in this cave. It was like it built into a wall. It's just a cave. You go down. It was filled with water. Still, but they took out some of the water and they went and checked out the acoustics. And turns out, a lot of you are probably familiar with this, that when you laid in there for like, if you laid in there for like 12 hours, they determined that it actually would get rid of cancer and things like that, because the frequency was at I don't think it's a hidden frequency. It was just a frequency. It's not. I just don't remember the exact frequency. I'd have to look it up, which I can. And this cave just gave off this, because of the echo in it. It just gave off that frequency, and then it got rid of tumors and things like that. So I guess in ancient Rome, you were sick, you went and laid in the cave for some hours as a treatment, and then you would come out and you would be cured. And then now it's, we are still in this kind of it's like all this information. It's like NASA when they came out and said, "Oh, we'd like to go back to the moon, but that information was lost." How did you, where did you lose it? How could you lose all the information? So I think a lot of information. Hi, Zuma. A lot of information's been lost. We're trying to recover it. The disconnect is so bad between spirituality and between our culture. So that's one of the things I like to do in my channel, is bring that spirituality back, and for healing and everything else. So a lot of people are disconnected from from their environment. Now that we're in lockdown, and now we're staying inside more, all the animals came out. Now there's a fake news story. Sorry that dolphins went back to Venice in the canals. It's not true. It's been a widely popular fake news story, but I think there's a lot of animals. I went for a run today, staying healthy, staying in shape. One of the things is I run about 5 miles a day now, and very quickly up hills, and a red fox ran in front of me, which is pretty neat. Big red fox, and he was like checking me out, like, "Hey, you're gonna chase me?" But it's nice to see animals back in the world, which is great. Uh, Pipe organs in churches. Suzanne says, "I've heard of cave and on vid sometimes some time ago as well, like perhaps the theory of pipe organs in old churches, perhaps not as we believe, past old churches may be healing places." Yeah, there is historically they used to seek out places with vortexes that they thought would be to put a church on, or a temple. And you'll see in a lot of ancient places that there was actually a temple there, and they'd rip it down and they put a church in its place, because it was known for the ley lines, and the vortexes would be more spiritual spots. So like I was talking about in another episode, it's it's cool to have episodes like I'm a real channel, right? So I was talking about Schulman frequency and consciousness. So as I'm attuned, because I'm in the Schulman frequency, if you go outside, I can notice that the at certain areas the frequencies are higher when we're in nature versus inside certain places. So it's certainly important to be in nature because that'll you're in a higher vibrational frequency. It's more healing than other places. So it's a scientific fact. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Now, yeah, but about pipe organs in churches, uh, they're healing. Well, all sound can be, healing if it's on the right, frequency, or if there's, positive thoughts, pushing behind it as well. You know, a lot of our music, like I was saying before, is they took all the they lowered it to a discordant frequency, and there's actually an app you could buy, and you play your music through it, and it puts it back into harmonious frequency versus the frequency that it's in, which is pretty pretty gnarly. I do healing, and I got into using tuning forks at one time when I was doing healings in person, Reiki healing and energetic healing, and so you would, hit the tuning fork and then place it over someone, and then it would vibrate that frequency. So we don't have ability to stop that. We have a sympathetic response to those kind of frequencies. So when a frequency comes at you, sympathetic response. So a tuning fork I was experimenting with could try to, raise a vibrational frequency a little bit in a certain area in someone's body to promote healing when I'm doing an energy healing as well. So I would heal with sound and tuning forks as well. It's all, like I was mentioning before, the higher angelic frequencies. We are, if you're at the right pitch and right thing, you're only like at a at like a hundredth of a tenth of a percent of what of dwelling into that powerful realm, um, which I don't talk about that much. But there's just so much, there's another. It's like we have matter, and then what they're thinking is dark matter. And it's funny because there's a Mandela effect about matter and dark matter. So it used to be that we were at dark matter universe 25%. They figured. Then it was 15%. Then it was now it's what I'm saying is dark matter. It was the opposite. Dark matter was, they were saying that matter was like 25%. Dark matter was, anyway, the way it works out now that they have it is dark matter's 99.9% of everything is dark matter, and matter is only, you know less than 1% of the universe is matter. The rest of everything is dark matter, and you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying is there's so much other things out there. We're only at this small scope of pers- um, pers- I want to say perspective, but I was looking for a spectrum of perception is the word I'm saying. So we can only see a certain spectrum from our perspective, and there's such a wide range. There. I've heard about this cave. What do you believe about Elon Musk changing frequencies? He said that thing this Psy was in the news. Almost looked like he was hitting like a dome that could not be penetrated. I'm not sure, Zolmo, exactly, that one, what you're talking about. But if you're really interested in learning about that, I always uh, interested in. I was looking. I always look up stuff, and I remember looking up things before. Uh, now that Google's kind of raised, and you could look at anything before everything was hidden. You could look up, and I enjoin you to look up Operation High Jump and Operation Fishbowl. So Operation Fishbowl is Operation. Just I'm at the name Operation Fishbowl. Picture a bowl like a dome, around the Earth, right? And it's mind boggling. And what they uh, Operation, and I'm going from memory, Operation Fishbowl worked in conjunction with Operation Dominic. Dominic is another name, Domini for God. So what they were doing is they actually took a lot of people don't know this. They actually took the U.S. and other countries in a joint effort. Okay, sent up nuclear weapons into up into space and exploded them right about where people were saying there's a dome around the planet Earth. So, and you're like, what? Were they trying to break apart a dome? Is there a dome around the Earth? Is that what? Why? Why would they fire nuclear weapons up into the sky? Oh, we had to check the yield. Um, so it was crazy. And then I've done some research into that, and then I did research into these supposedly the satellites, which bounce off, can bounce a signal off a dome and actually go back. So if you think about it, your phone, if you go out and you go into the woods and all of a sudden your phone doesn't work, but when you're in a populous area, it works. And you go, wait a second, if it's really working on a satellite, which is in outer space, then why doesn't my cell phone work? How come if I'm up on a mountain, right? So I have a clear view of the satellite, but I'm not near a populace where there's antennas. My cell phone doesn't work. So then you got to start saying to yourself, well, maybe there's something more here than going on. It's pretty common sense. So, and then, well, they use for a dome, then not a dome, but Operation um, High Jump was the attempt in 1947 of the U.S. and it looked like they sent a lot of they lost a plane, but they sent a lot of ships to the Antarctic, and basically it's like they were trying to get past the edge of the world, it seemed like, and they couldn't, and they came back. So after that they sent up nuclear weapons. A lot of people don't know this. I think it was like 60 nuclear weapons. And the other thing that I'll just share with you in open forum is that I do a lot of vibrational healing, and I know about crystals. Moldavite is a high vibrational crystal. That's really a high vibrational crystal. And if I get a Moldavite, it puts me in tune easier with higher angelic, frequencies. It's just, I mean, it's a fact, okay? And Moldavite is from like an impact of a meteorite, and then there's something called this Libyan glass, which is like glass that they say was like from a meteorite, but it could be that it could be part of the dome that is like glass in like fell down, um, and then you're getting a piece of that, and you're like, whoa, that's pretty. It's pretty high frequency vibrational parts. So I know it all sounds a little crazy and a little weird, but that's what this channel's about. We're a little weird here. But those crystals that are from meteorites are always high vibrational. There's a lot of crystals that are from meteorites, and that's why a lot of times Did you know that there's this guy that came out with orgone? He actually came out with something called orgone energy, and he ended up he basically discovered orgone energy, which is like prana. And what he ended up making is people now do these. You might have seen these in New Age shops and things. These triangles, like pyramids, and they have like, I don't like doing the Illuminati symbol, but I'm just showing you. So it has these crystals that are smushed up, and they're supposed to promote like higher vibrational frequencies and healing. And it's this orgone, uh, and the government, what I heard was last year they were outlawing it, and they were outlawing these crystals because they were like too high vibrational for people to have. So they are actually outlawing people who were going out and selling them. They're like, no, you can't sell this stuff. They're like, what? Why can't I sell a crystal? Like, so that could be the reason why there's so much, pollution in the water and pollution in the air and things like that. The powers that be don't want people to be high vibrational because you can see past all the malarkey and bullshit. Uh, Okay, and look back in the chat. Elon Musk was changing electromagnetic waves like in a disk in the Matrix. That's strange, right? I don't know exactly what he did. I'll have to look that up later. But they set up these 5G satellites around the Earth. Nothing to worry about. um, so what you have is, like I said, you have there's already in place a high vibrational frequencies are there. And so an AI is more of comes out, and it's going to be more of a demonic frequency. So if you have an AI beast system that's going to be working on, what they're going to do is with 5G, as a lot of people know, they could do a holographic, interface where you could actually be so, it's going to be so quick that it's going to blow people away. And they already have it a lot of places, and a lot of people are saying that those places they're not sure, but it looks like those places are the same places that have people are ill. And strangely enough, when they took the data and they looked at it in 1917, when they had the Spanish flu, that was when they had they came out with radar. So a lot of places installed radar, and they started using radar all over the place, and then everybody got sick as well. So there's 24,000, bacteriums at all times in the air that we're breathing in, and we're not getting ill. But I think it could be that if we're using 5G as well, it's like one piggybacks perhaps on the other. Now, all these kind of things, if you talk about these kind of things, labeled conspiracy, blah, 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 blah. But hey, I've been a Reiki master for over 25 years. I've been meditation teacher. And when you get into this for so long, you end up learning about frequencies and healing. And it's been in popular. Welcome back, Suzanne. So that's what's been in popular vernacular now. It used to be in the 60s, everybody would say, the hippies would say, hey, man, cool vibrations. But nowadays, we turn these vibrations mean different things. So there's different, we actually pieced it all together, these different vibrational frequencies, and each one does something else in the body. There's been a push in recent years for instance, cancer. They actually can take a pinpoint a cancer within somebody's body and use from two different angles. They put two different vibrations as a sonic vibration, and the exact spot where they would meet would give a discordant resonance or accordant resonance to that spot where the cancer is, and they could get rid of cancer that way. I've had lithoscopic surgery, which is I had kidney stones, and them putting a sonic wave, which is super painful, to break up the kidney stones. So they didn't go inside my body, but they used a sonic wave, and that's been known, as something for surgery for years. But I think as time and if it progresses in the right way, that people know how beneficial certain frequencies and healings can be, and work with it that way. The one thing I don't like some of these, when I go into a store or a workplace, and these halogen lights, these lights, you just get underneath them, and you get ill like that. And then certain computers give off these radiation. It gives off this frequency. I was in sales, and I had this not doing very well at one point, and I had went out and got this. It looks like a triangle. It was just a necklace, and it cost me like $200. And it said that there was copper embedded in it. And if you're interested, you can message me. I'll try to remove from the computers and everything like that, and it helps you. So I bought it, and my sales went up like tenfold. It was just like, it was so crazy. What I was involved in, I was like, this is insane. So I didn't want to take that necklace off for a while. I started putting some crystals with it, and then the vibration gets too high. It's just, you know. So yeah, I'm so attuned to this stuff that I can't go to bed with the crystals near me. I'll just stay up. My awareness gets locked into a certain state, a certain brainwave pattern, and I can't sleep. So I have to have crystals like at least, 6, 7 feet away from me. Otherwise, I just can't sleep. It'll just keep my vibration too high. My 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 brain state is a certain way. Like, I've gone to bed, and I'm just laying there and laying there, like, and then I realize, oh wait, I have a crystal necklace on, and I take that off, and I could go to sleep. So it definitely puts you into a certain brain wavelength of like, there's different levels. There's alpha and, theta, and when there hasn't been any real studies on any of this stuff I'm talking about, which is really sad. Although I did meet once this like mad Russian scientist, which was fun, and he was really into it. Like, these Russian scientists, some of them, any of the website, I forgot his website, but I could look it up. But he had this website, and I was going, "What do you do?" He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We take this. I have this machine, and it sends a pulse. Let's say you have a child. The child's like 5 years old, and let's say you're 40, and it sends a non-harmful. He's saying it sends out like a sonic signal through the child, like it's not hurting them in any way. And then they have a receiver, and the receiver is collecting that frequency from the child, and then they go back to the older person, and they turn it around and they project that frequency at the older a person, and it makes them younger. He said. I'm like, what? Oh, okay, that makes sense. You're like, what? So he's saying that they collect. It's like the DNA, the younger DNA. They could just collect the. It's like orgone energy. They just shine. It's like a certain wavelength through it, and it collects it, and then they project it back onto somebody, and it makes them more youthful, because we're our DNA is they actually took DNA, and it's crazy stuff. Like they went and took DNA of like a frog, and then they sent the signal through the DNA of the frog, and they collect that energy, and then what they did was, um, that signal. He said they go into a different room, and there's no frog. There's nothing. It's an empty room. Okay, there's nothing there. Then they have like this petri dish, and they take the sonic wave. They take that signal and they hit the petri dish with it over a period of time, and then frog DNA appears in the petri dish, and it's a sterile environment. There's no frog near that DNA. So it it's like DNA could just, that can be how life occurred. It can be like, it can be like the word of God creating life. That's how they can do things. A lot of this information is hidden from people, because it just blows people's minds. They have this that doctor, the Japanese guy that passed away. He would take water, origami, is it? He would take water, and he would freeze the crystal, but before he froze it, he would do something. He would say, like, he would play like classical music with one, and different he would do different things and freeze it and look at the crystal, and the crystal would be, they could determine what that pattern would be. So more of a harmonious pattern, would be shown into the water. It's the same thing. So if you have, like, on my website victorhamsa.com, I thought to um, send put I put first thing I think the first thing I ever offered for sale on it was, no one's taking me up on it, was holy water. So I would take water and clean out like a copper, this, and I would do Reiki over and pray over it, and then bottle it up and send it to somebody if they wanted me to. No one's taken me up on it yet, but I think it'd be so beneficial, um, for people to have, certainly, that when you go to church and you're leaving church, my church, they have holy water. Would you like some holy water? And they have a whole vat, and you know, it's stuff that people know, but people aren't, you know, it's like subconsciously understand it, but they don't know. Uh, yeah, so Antarctica is the only country that, no one's allowed to go to and build on. And yeah, Operation High Jump is crazy when you read about it. And then what Admiral Byrd said, when you go and read what he actually said about going there, and just read it, and it's just like, it still says crazy stuff. Like he was saying, like, that was a place of, where we might get attacked from, and you're like, what? What is he talking about? I mean, and when you look at the Earth, I'm not trying to push flat Earth. I'm really not. But the conspiracy idea behind it is that when you look at the globe and you look at where planes go from one point to another, uh, you know, it's just like they don't go. Why don't planes go over the Antarctic if it's a shorter route? They don't. It's crazy stuff. Now, Cricket Lulu says Rex Bear from Leak Project. Love that show. Don't you love that show? Has shown this. I believe it's his brother who claimed to show that he does this with frequency in freezing water. He won't drink it any other way. Patterns are beautiful. Right. So I try to pray before every meal I have to, ask God to, bless this food. And it's definitely the case. If you're going to eat McDonald's, pray on it before you eat it. And if you have to, if that's the only food you can have. And, that's why Jesus said things like, it's not that what you put, can make you sick. It's what comes out of your mouth. So he was saying that the words you say, you're known from your actions and the words you say versus what, you take in your body. But that's definitely the case. So and it's great that I got this bottle and everything else, but if you pray on it, or think positive, you know, then it's better. Uh, Water and copper. Evil bad energy does not seem to like copper. Holy water made from water and copper. Interesting. Yeah, it's real stuff. They used to have, like you said, all copper in houses, and everybody kind of knew this kind of stuff. Was using copper for all the water, the copper pipes. We had the copper pipes, and everybody is so hard up for money. They ripped out all the copper pipes and he put in stainless steel. But it would definitely be awesome to have copper pipes, clean copper pipes for water versus steel. I talked to an engineer once who worked in Manhattan, and these aqueducts that they have, and I was very interested in these DUMBs, deep underground military bases, and I was talking to him about it. Um, he wouldn't tell me where, but supposedly there's some buildings in Manhattan. You go into the basement floor and you go into lower basement, and then all of a sudden it goes down a deep elevator, and you go into a train, and they have these trains that go from all over the country underground. So I was talking to him about trying to pump him from information a little bit, but it turns out, and I googled it, did some research. In Manhattan, they have these old underground aqueduct inside Manhattan where they put all the water, and turns out that they're losing 1 million gallons a day of water. It in the cracks, and they just can't get it. They can't figure out how to, because it's just old, and they put some divers in there, but they just can't they can't figure out how to seal the cracks. I was just amazed that they have this underground aquifer, aqua purifier. They have these underground aqua filter. I'm saying it wrong. Anyway, they have this underground grotto in Manhattan, and they have all this 1 million gallons of water is just lost a day. It just goes through the cracks and it's just gone. It's amazing. And I had here's something cool. I had this like vision and idea or whatever that they're going to find from deep in the earth. They're going to come up with something, a new kind of like a radioactive isotope that's going to be last longer and it's be cleaner burning. It's going to be like a bluish substance. So I thought perhaps they were going to find that one of these days and say, oh, that came from deep, deep, deep in the earth. So I think that they're going to find that. It's going to be like this blue substance. I mean, I was just praying about it, and I got all this information about it, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, that would be awesome if they could have some kind of cold fusion um, rock that was in the radiation might be a Mandela effect, but if it seemed to look green in a lot of pictures. Everybody always pictures it green. It was kind of clear for a while and ended up being green. So, in when they take the tubes out now, if you look at a picture, it's green. So I thought that that would be interesting. If they could find deep in the ground, they would find this blue kind of radioactive substance that they didn't know existed before, but it would power a lot of things and not, not get people sick. That would be awesome. But I hope they find that. But I just kind of came that I thought I'd mention it. It came up in a couple days ago that I had that idea, and my ideas usually come true. So I don't know if they're going to find it this year, next year, or 100 years from now. But remember, you heard it here first. So yeah, the there's been a lot of talk about Antarctica and all that. Um, Photoshop. So, and if you look at it, like South America and America in on one depiction of the Earth, and you're like they're saying the bit. So there was a Russian cosmonaut that was 832 days up in space, the longest ever, and there was a guy before that. I remember reading 11,082. I made up a meme about it, and that's disappeared. So now we have. I don't see the Russian astronaut now that was in a space station for all those years. They were saying that only the U.S. had the longest record, which was incorrect. Maybe it'll could be 800 days in orbit. Why couldn't they just why wouldn't he fly to the moon and back? It only takes 3 days. It's not a big deal, right? Let's say they put a small rocket on. It wouldn't take, if he's going to be up there he's up there for 800 days. So the reason is the Van Allen belt is or high density radiation, and I don't believe that's possible right now, perhaps to go to the moon at all, being that they never went there in the first place, supposedly. If they did go there, how come we haven't gone back in over 50 years? None of it makes sense. And I think it's been a lot of interesting things about that, about Stanley Kubrick, and saying that he actually, on his deathbed, supposedly said that he did doctor that all that was fake, that he filmed it after he filmed 2001 Space Odyssey. And then if you look at the movie The Shining, and you look at a child, he goes into a certain room and he has the spaceship on his shirt, and it says Apollo on it. It's supposed to all mean that that it was all fake. So it's hidden meaning. So he couldn't come out and say it, but he put it in the movie The Shining, and you could look that stuff up. It's all interesting. See, is so there's like lower frequencies. So the 5G network is a lower frequency than the Schulman frequency. So we have a Schulman frequencies. Now we have three that are going around the Earth, and they want to irradiate. They're irradiating the Earth now with this 5G frequency, which is, demonic frequencies. So there's definitely a spiritual war going on, and you'll see, these things are going on. Elon Musk's space rocket X launched in 2009, changing time and space. I'm Matrix. I'm not sure what what you mean. If you could, so that is they find it out in the desert. They're saying that a lot of this is from meteor from meteor impacts, and it creates in the sand. It creates it in the glass. It creates this glass, and then it's a higher vibrational frequency. Those countries mold. So they have the impact, and then the impact creates this a meteor creates from the ground coming up. It creates this green like glass. Um, it all seems a little bit weird and hazy, but supposedly the dome is impenetrable if we're at the dome or something like that. But I hypothesize if there's a meteorite or something like that and impacts the Earth, um, and then it seems to give off this higher energetic frequency when it hits the Earth, and then we get the shards, and those are really high vibrational frequency stones. But if there was any piece of the dome that fell off, I'd be interested in getting a piece of that as well. But moldavite is the part that's from a meteorite when it lands, and maybe meteorites are part of the dome. That could be the case. We really don't know. We're like, you know, um, we're like in the dark ages for a lot of stuff. I always find, but moldavite. And the interesting thing about crystals. I mean, if we were in a matrix, was changing a glitch in the system or overcome the matrix? I'm not sure what you mean, Zuma. I mean, if she says if we are in the matrix, was changing the glitch in the system or overcome the matrix? Not sure what you mean. But if you look at crystals themselves, so crystals are why are crystals? Here's a question for that. No, why are crystals higher vibrational? Crystals are higher vibrational. They just are because they're a lactis, and if it wasn't for crystals, we wouldn't have had television or radio. Did you know that? Did you know that a crystal vibrates at a certain frequency? So it was vibrating at 2,496 times per second. I talked about this in my channel before, but now they're vibrating at 778 times per second. So how would that happen? So as we rise up in frequency, we actually rise up in time. Um, I'm trying to say this slowly so people understand, because I feel like I lose everybody when I talk about this. But let's say you're running, right? So you're running. And you're running through time. So if there's a flashing light next to you, so let's say not a light, let's say a crystal. So it's vibrating. So as you're running, the crystal is vibrating. It's always vibrating the same. So as you run faster, the crystal vibrates slower. Okay. So if you notice that crystals are vibrating slower everywhere, there's a certain frequency that's slowing. It just means that we're rising up in frequency, and that's how come we see it's slower. So I actually did a lot of research on it, and crystals used to vibrate a lot higher in frequency, but now they're lower in frequency. They're still vibrating the same. It's us that's risen in frequency. So when you have a crystal, like let's say in a radio, there's a wave that it goes, and the wave goes, and then it goes to the crystal, and they're able to take that lower frequency wave, and they put it towards a crystal, and the crystal vibrates into a higher frequency, and that allows them to send over distances information. So hence how they had the first televisions and everything else with radio. A lot of people don't know that all like RC. If you want to have you know RC car, it has to have there's all these crystals always like in quartz watches. The crystals always vibrate at a certain frequency, and so what they frequent the crystals vibrate at a higher frequency, so lower frequencies can be translated to higher frequencies with crystals. So there's certain crystals when you look at there's these 13 synergy stones, and when you look at the synergy stones and you actually look at the, let's say, the DNA of the crystal, so you're looking at it under a spectroscope and you see the DNA of it, the highest frequency crystals that are known that all these psychics and all these healers say are vibrating at certain higher frequencies. When they looked at it, nobody really knows this but me. When I've looked at all the data, and it looks, and it, the interesting part is that it looks to be as the flower of life. So that pattern, that grid pattern of the flower of life, is in the DNA of the higher vibrational crystals. So the crystals are based, the crystals that people say are higher vibrational crystals. When you go to a crystal show and you go to the section where they're selling some crystals, and the guy seems to know what he's talking about. He goes, "Oh, this is a Himalayan quartz. This is this one." And if they take it and they look under, if they look at a spectrum, they go down and they look at the atomic way it's built at that level. Those ones are closer to the flower of life pattern. So that is mind blowing. So the flower of life, when you get down to the flower of life, if you're not sure when I'm talking about the flower of life, look it up. But we have you have the Venus Pisces, and you have the different. It starts off, and it there's, it widens out. So the flower of life is the pattern of the universe. So if you want to know what the matrix looks like, it's the flower of life. So they determined that crystals that are more, well, I've determined crystals are more in line with the flower and life pattern, actually are more spiritual crystals. So they work in a specific, if one's looks like the flower life pattern in the DNA. I don't like the word DNA, but you know what I mean. So you look at it in a microscopic level, and they see how the crystals are formulated, and each one's different, built differently. And the ones that are built as a flower life pattern are more with certain ways are spiritual for different things. So it's very, very interesting. That actually this is the spiritual things combined. So I'm telling you about it. Nobody knows this but me. So it's very interesting. The flower life pattern is embedded in certain crystals differently in the lactis, is the word I want to say. In the lactis, where they're formulated from, certain crystals have a different, have the exact pattern of flower of life, but the ones that have more of a pattern of the flower of life are more spiritual and get more towards a higher vibrational state. So the flower of life is one of the highest vibrational states of reality. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think you're talking about the movie The Matrix. Are we inside a computer? Our world is based on a holographic reality. 99.99999 of everything is just empty space. So we're basically walking around holograms, which is helped me to understand. It was envisioning two-dimensional sphere like a black hole, whereas the black hole has all of the universe in its black hole are on the event horizon as well. That event horizon, when you think about the event horizon of a black hole, if you really, and I'm not saying to do it right this minute, but you have to really meditate and think about it, then you'll understand how we go from 2D to 3D. Once you understand that, and you understand that angels, and like I was saying about black holes, so higher dimensional frequency beings, you know, it just there's higher dimensional frequency beings, and we're in a certain frequency, and that's just the way it is. You know, they're like light. Never had problems on my phone like now. Well, you're with me. I'm a higher vibrational being, so I short out everybody's phone sometimes. So let's see. Are we inside a computer? If it could be that the Big Bang was the on switch, where just I think I came up with that. I'm not sure, but if that was the case, then that would be like if you were in a simulation and somebody hit the on switch. I think that the people in the simulation would see the Big Bang and say that was that they would see the on switch turning on everything and say, oh, that was the Big Bang. So that to me it makes a lot of sense in that respect. You know, and we're uh, space was real. It's hard for me to think it's a hologram. Maybe when I see more evidence. So I'm not sure. You know, I say certain words and people go on their own tangents and they think I mean certain things. So it's always like I have to go back a step. You thought space was real. So you know, it's very interesting. Um, there's this water. There's this water. There's water. And what they did was they take these bubbles, and it's called somnolescence. Uh, it's really neat. So they could take this bubble in the water, and when a bubble pops under the water, it gives off like 3 million degrees Kelvin, um, which they're not sure how when a bubble finally pops and it gives off light. So when the water has a bubble that's popping, it gives off all this light, and the spectrum of the bubble itself looks like a star, which is very exciting. They don't know how to actually harness somnolescence, but if they could, it would be a way for free energy, because you have basically a bubble in the water, and when the bubble pops underneath the water, now it's very uncommon for a bubble to do that. What they're doing is they take you got it um, frequencies of sound, and they could trap that bubble in in the water, and then they hit it with a frequency. I'm sorry, it's probably my Wi-Fi. They hit that frequency of the water, and then when they hit the frequency of the bubble,